paved our way. In every single chapter, we're here to stay. Breaking down plays.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Chasing the Highlights podcast. My name is Lonnie Washington. I'm here with Tony Robinson. How's it going today, Tony?
Pretty good. Let's get this thing going.
Let's get it rolling, man. We got a lot to talk about. We're gonna first start talking about, first of all, man, I like that shirt.
Thank you.
I like that shirt. Now y'all can't see me, but I got the Star Wars on. Star Wars coming out Friday. I'm a Star Wars guy.
Yeah, I was doing some spring cleaning. I found this shirt in a box that I haven't seen in a while, and it was brand new. I didn't even wear it yet, so I was like, let me put this thing on.
Yeah, man, I love it. Let's talk a little bit about sports. I mean, I'm not quite sure, Tony, if you saw the game last night, the Western Conference Finals with the Spurs and Oklahoma City. I don't need to have to remind anybody that if you missed that game, and I'm not sure why you missed it, but you should have a good reason to miss that game, because nobody wanted to miss that game last night. This is the series that everybody's been talking about all year. You got Victor Wembanyama, and then you also have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the reigning MVP for a second year in a row, who got his title last night at home. I mean, his MVP trophy last night at home. And I think that might have added a little bit of fuel to the fire for Victor Wembanyama to actually go out and showing, since he was like top 2 or 3 in the actual voting. And so it was a heck of a game. I mean, if we start looking at this in the way it was, I mean, Wemby came out to the party in double overtime last night, and he went crazy. He went off in double overtime, and just in the game, 41 points, 21 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 block shots, and just his impact on the game and his fingerprint on the game was just something to marvel at last night. And I'm watching this game, and I'm just saying, you got to be kidding me. This kid is not, 7'5". He got handle. We know he's dunking the ball down low. He can play inside, outside. And then at the end of the first overtime, he comes down with 26 seconds left and hits a Stephon Curry 3-point line damn near at the logo to tie the game, which was insane too. So, overall, it was this coming out party. I think this is the series that, the Spurs wanted. Everybody kind of knows that. You got a team that was well rested, had 7 or 8 days off in the Oklahoma City Thunder playing at home. They had everything behind them last night with the MVP on their team, and they got beat. It took 2 overtimes, Tony, but they got beat. But I was so impressed with the way Wemby had started the game out and the way he came out to play. He set the tone right away, and we know now that this is going to be a dogfight the rest of the series.
Well, yeah, he definitely came out. I mean, during the season, you saw how they dominated OKC. They took Shai Gilgeous-Alexander away. I feel like they have a plan in place for this whole team. I think when I saw this Spurs team being assembled, it's a part of the reason why I picked the Spurs to go to the finals against the Cavaliers. That's what I did before the playoffs even started, because I see the Spurs were constructed to combat OKC. The way they drafted their team and like the players they have match up very well with what OKC is doing. So that's a direct target from a San Antonio standpoint. They're looking at OKC like, okay, we gonna get the guys in place like Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper had 24 points last night with 11 rebounds, 6 assists. He's balling out. Ron Harper's son, he played for the Cavs back in day too, and the Bulls and stuff like that. So
7 steals too.
Yeah, he was balling. Wemby actually, he had 24 rebounds, but adding on to those, he had 24 total. But Wemby just came out and just dominated. It's like, okay, y'all gonna snub me, and maybe he's like he was like third on the MVP list or whatever.
Yep.
And he's like, okay, I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna take this dude out pretty much. And he did just that game. They had a good plan for Shai. Shai went 7 for 23. He still got his 24 points, 12 assists and stuff like that. But it was a hard game to play for him.
Only 30% from the field for SGA, which is that's just not his standard.
And if it wasn't for Caruso's not going to score 31 points again. I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean,
if they leave him open.
Actually, I won't be surprised. But if I don't think that's going to happen on a consistent basis. But if nobody else steps up, then I don't know about OKC right now, because Williams came back and was balling after being injured this whole time. And if you take away Shea and then Caruso don't get that 31 points, somebody else gonna have to get those points. And I don't see Holmgren has to step up because he's not existent right now with Wemby on the court. Like pretty much Wemby
it was bad.
Takes him out pretty much. Like get out of here. So
yeah, now that goes right into what I was about to say too. I mean, Chet Holmgren struggled with 8 points and 8 rebounds. Brother, you 7-1. You 7-1. We know you can ball. We know you know we know you're not a bad player, but you shrunk in this game. You might as well have been 6-1 out there yesterday, because you didn't guard Wemby. You didn't have the assignment on Wemby the whole game. I'm not quite sure what OKC strategy was, because Chet Holmgren was not even guarding Wemby the whole game.
Well, yeah, it's a thing where I know why they do that, because they try to put somebody that's shorter, athletic, and stuff like that. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know why he's not checking them, but usually they want to have somebody that's like 6'6", between 6'8", checking them.
Well, Caruso was the right guy.
Yeah. Because
but if he takes you down, Caruso can guard him outside of the 3-point line and in. But once you go down the paint, Caruso don't have an answer for him. And Chet Holmgren came over a couple of times and did get a good block on him, at the end of regulation and stuff like that. But you got to have more of Chet Holmgren in the picture on defense, to check him. Once he gets in the paint, it's just an easy lob, and he's just dogging everybody in the paint once he gets the ball in the paint. Caruso can't handle him. So Chet Holmgren has to come to the party, and he has to look for his own offense. Now, I know that, Jalen Williams came back and took up 26 points and stuff like that, but it seemed like Chet Holmgren shrunk. 8 points and eight rebounds. This is not going to get it for this OKC team.
Holmgren only has 7 attempts, so I think that Williams coming back, the 25 attempts that he took away from his game. I mean, that could be the main reason. Because like we talked about before on the previous podcast, like when a player comes in, like we were talking about
come back
Embiid before. We're talking about Embiid coming back, and then how I can it can kind of like mess up the chemistry of like what the guys that's been there for a long, that whole time built, and then you put somebody else in that's a usual starter, and it changes the whole dynamic, and like they have to start over from scratch to get that chemistry back and stuff like that. So I think that could be the main reason why Chet kind of took a step back as well.
I mean, I was really shocked if I'm looking at Caruso. I mean, he had 8 3-pointers. He plays really good defense. I mean, he was looking at his hands like, Dad, I never had this opportunity. He looking at his hands. He's like, but he was hitting all the open threes. He played a really good game on defense, and he's that guy that kind of gets that veteran that's got a title with the Lakers that can actually get everybody, going again. Of course, he's got everybody now are champions on the OKC team, but he's that veteran. When they need a boost off the bench, he comes off the bench, plays tough defense, get a couple of steals. He hounds the biggest player all the time. He's played against Jokic and some of these other guys in these series, the bigger player. Because also what I also did notice too is that there was a lot of Dylan Harper, like you said, he went off. Castle had a pretty good game, but Castle had 11 turnovers. He can't have that happen again. But De'Aaron Fox didn't play last night too, which was a big deal, because you don't have that veteran leadership at point guard either, and that depth at point guard that you need down the stretch that could have reduced some of those turnovers. But if you're looking at this game on game 2, this is kind of a must-win game now for Oklahoma City, because I don't see them coming. They've lost 5 of 6 going back into the regular season against the Spurs. And so the Spurs have their number, and that just showed up again last night.
Yeah, I think and Kobe Bryant, he only had 14 minutes, but he's like a key defender that they bring in to spell the starters. And when he came in and was going against Shea, he was actually doing his thing too as well. So they the way they built this team is like a whole bunch of young guys, and the young guys are like coming to the party and like saying we're here pretty much. Like, you're not just gonna push us over and thinking we're gonna back down because y'all the defending champions and stuff like that. So
I mean, I'm saying myself, I mean, how do you handle Wemby? They're gonna have to kind of figure out, hey, are you going to let Wemby go off and stop Castle from getting in the lane? Or how are you going to, I mean, you had a lot of guys that were hitting threes and things of that nature too for the Spurs that came out. You know, they got a deep bench too. So now you figure out how do you, we go back and you start looking at the time off, right? You start looking at the time off that the Oklahoma City Thunder has had. And then you start looking at the time that the Spurs had off and playing in a tough series. I mean, it looked like the fresher team last night in the second overtime was the Spurs and Wemby. You think that this guy played 48 minutes last night, and he went off and scored like 7 points in second overtime that propelled them to the win.
Yeah, you can't. I don't see anybody stopping Wemby. The only way they're trying to get to him is to get him frustrated and like have him like do some egregious act or whatever. They trying to do like the Draymond Green treatments on him, but he has so many like veterans and like people in his ear like right now like telling him like, dude, this is your time. This is your time to show them like you're the guy. Pretty much, don't let all that other stuff get to you because I'm sure he learned his lesson from that elbow, right? So knowing that, I don't see. There's no way to stop him because he can go inside, outside, and if he's outside, he can see everywhere. He has like the vision as a quarterback, just seeing every single thing to, every pass he can make. Nobody's really stopping him because he can shoot the three. He can drive past you depending on who's checking him, and then he can take you to the post. So I don't see anybody really stopping him because of his shot is so high up too. He has almost like that Kevin Durant, like, but he's taller than Durant and shooting that shot. So it's hard to get a block shot on that. So
and on defense, I can tell that he's people are scared to come in the paint. When they come in the paint, they either coming through, they not looking to turn around and shoot because they know he's there. They're looking to attack the perimeter from the outside. And if OKC was cold from 3-point line the first half last night, that propelled them to get a little bit behind. But they're not coming in for that 8. SGA likes that mid-range. And if you got Wemby sitting up in there in the mid-range, he's scared to even put that shot up.
Yeah. There's no way. That's because that's his spot. He's gonna have to shoot more threes. Like this is what he was doing during the season. That's why he couldn't. That's why he went 7 for 23, whatever it was, because he can't get this normal shot off. Because Wemby is always around, and he can get to you from. He can be way over here on the other block, and he can still get to you over
2
here.
steps.
All he got. Somebody's there to defend Shea, but then Wemby has time to recover because it's always somebody on him to make sure because he's the MVP. Like nobody's going to be off of him, so he's just there to clean up everything that comes if he gets blown by him.
And you got to have your head on the swivel too, because you think you have an easy shot to the basket, and you rushing to try to get that ball up before somebody come from behind you, Wemby, with this crazy wingspan and just swatting the ball off, out of the air on you or whatever. And then if you're facing them up, all he has to do is just jump, and he can get to your shot unless you're shooting rainbows. So the only thing that you can really do is hit the 3-point. Caruso was hitting the 3-pointers, or you have to get him away from the basket. They were running some plays that got Wemby away, that took him away from the basket to guard his man, and then they could try to get in the lane. And then if Wemby comes out, then you can kick the ball out for a 3. But I think you're going to see a different series because I think they're going to shoot better from the 3-point line. If OKC shoots better from the 3-point line, they can really find a way to neutralize the Spurs.
I think they got to figure out a way to keep Shea and Williams on separate sides, because if you have them on separate sides, then Wemby has to choose who he's going to go. I mean, I'm sure he's going to funnel to where the ball is. That's what you're supposed to do. But at the same time, it's like if you have them on separate sides, then he can't go. He'll be in the middle, like which one I'm gonna go to. So, and have the person that's checking, he's checking like on the opposite side of Shea. Then Shea can get off because, there's a way to do it. They're gonna figure it out the next game, I'm sure.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. And I think that this is a big game. For game 2 is a big game. OKC cannot go down 0-2 going back to the Spurs home court because again. They have a big time problem with beating the Spurs, and because this is a matchup thing. But Holmgren has to come to the party, and when he finally shows up with his 20+ points and 15 rebounds, then I think this will actually really be a series. If he doesn't show up in this series, OKC does not have a chance. So yeah, that's that. All right, we're gonna move on to the team that I know your team, the Cavs. The Cavs beat the Pistons by 31 points in Game 7, and I remember texting you during this game. I'm like, hey, they balling out, showing out, and balling out, and I was very impressed the way the Cavs closed out the Pistons. Now they're going in to play one of the hottest teams too in the Knicks on the Eastern Conference. Game 1. After having 2 tough series, Game 7 series, the Cavs got to go now to MSG tonight to start the Eastern Conference Finals. And my big question is, do the Cavs have a chance in this series, understanding that they've got a lot of miles on their feet already and legs already doing this playoff run, and the Knicks have kind of been well rested? Do you see the Cavs going in and kind of shocking the world? Because this would be an upset, actually, if they beat the Knicks.
I really don't see it as an upset because our season record is similar with 52.
2-1, right?
Huh?
Knicks 2-1 Knicks, right?
Yeah, but our season record is close to the same. So I don't look at it as a like we're the underdog per se, but everybody has is underdog going to New York for the away games because of our track record of not being this so far in this playoffs where we haven't really been good on the road. But I feel like we have to come out with that bust them in the mouth mentality, just like we did in Detroit. We got to keep that same energy going, like right away. We got to bust New York in the mouth because they've been sitting around waiting. So they may be a little rusty. So we got to come out there and just bust them out. Come at them just like we did Detroit. Figure out a way to take away Brunson, and
it ain't gonna happen.
But I'm saying, like, if that's the head of the snake. If we can figure out a way to get the head of the snake out of there, like we did with Cade Cunningham, we had certain defenders that kind of took him off of his game a little bit. And if you can isolate Brunson and take him away, you got to force everybody else to beat you. And then you got Cat, and we got those 2 centers. You got Allen and Mobley going to be terrorizing him and get him frustrated. And he has to stay out of foul trouble because he's been more open to foul trouble. So if you get him in foul trouble right away, the backup Robinson, he's solid. He's a rim runner and stuff like that. He's serviceable. But I feel like we have more depth.
How are you going to handle McBride? He's been a 3-point killer.
We're a 3-point shooting team, so they have to keep up with us because they're not consistent with their they've been consistent lately, but during the season they weren't like we have so many 3-point shooters that we'll be able to outshoot them. As long as we're making our shots, we should be fine. But I feel like they don't have a from series to series, things change. So I feel like they don't really have anybody that Harden is going to be like stopped or anything. I don't think they have anybody to check him like that. But the one kid that's the guy, he's the Iron Man or whatever. But that's the only person I can see actually giving him
Bridges.
fits.
You're talking about Bridges.
Yeah, that's the only person I can see about that he can give Harden fits. But
I don't think he's going to guard Harden. I think he's going to guard Mitchell. And that's going to be a tough matchup for Mitchell because I think if they're the Knicks, you have to put him on Mitchell because Mitchell can go off. He starts seeing he can drive to the basket. He can shoot the 3. He can just go off. He's averaging 27 points, a game. And so I think that he's the one you got to watch because he can go off and set fire to everything. So I think you got to have Mikal Bridges. I'm going to be interested to see, you got to pick your poison because Harden is not that potent. He can score too, but I think you got to, if you shut down Mitchell and force Harden to score 30 points a night, I think that's your key to winning if you're the Knicks. Now, the key to winning for the Cavs is that the bigs got to play well, right? Mobley has to play well. Everybody has to play well. The bigs got to play well for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And also, you have the turnovers is going to be a big key. Harden can't turn the ball over 8, 9 times either. And between them both, Donovan Mitchell and Harden, they must average 20-plus points in this series all the way through, and if they have a chance to win this game.
Not necessarily, but you're right though. But at the same time, what the guards need to do is get back to getting the bigs involved. you see in the last game we played against Detroit, once they get the bigs involved, then everything opens up because you got, well, let me take a step back. When you have all these shooters that were making all their threes, like you got what's his name? Merrill. Merrill was hitting threes. When he's on the court, he was making his shot, and then you have Strus coming in making his shot. It opens the lane up. That's why Allen was able to just drive down the lane every single time. Nobody was helping because when you have shooters on the court, it spaces the floor out. So the lane is going to open up every single time. So I feel like if we get into that mode where our shooters are shooting, making shots, and then we getting our bigs involved and stuff like that, it's a totally different like game to me because I feel like Cat can't keep up. He's not a defender. He's just a shooter, and like he'll get you.
He's playing big boy ball lately in the playoffs.
Defensive wise, he's not a defense. That's why he's falling out. He's getting in foul trouble. He's not quick enough. So we'll see.
Well, can Jared Allen come into the series and show, this is time for him to come into the series. Yeah. I mean, this is his chance to come in there and show what he's got because Mobley, he's been playing. He was shooting a three. That Mobley's been shooting a three. That's knocking a couple of these teams out because they're not thinking that he's going to be out there shooting threes.
That's spacing the floor out too because you're bringing that big out, and that's what opened the lane up. You can't like have a shot blocker in there.
No. I think this is going to be a really interesting series, and all of New York is going to be watching this series. And Knicks hasn't been to a Eastern Conference or a Finals since 1999, and of course we've seen Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016 what they did. But with this new group, like you were talking about last week, right? You were talking about last week that this new group of characters on the Cleveland Cavaliers, you bring in Harden. You're trying to win a championship, right? You bring in Harden to try to win a championship. And he's been, in that Detroit series, he was fantastic for most of that series, but tonight is going to be both of these series that we have are really, really good. I want to see how the Cavs handle after playing the game 7 just 2 nights ago, how they handle coming out. Are they tired? And how the Knicks come out. Are they rusty? Can the Cavs come out, get a nice little lead, and have the Knicks chase them the whole night? Kind of what the Spurs did. Spurs kind of came in last night and had OKC chasing all game, right? And then at the end, OKC did what they do. They came back. But let's see if the Spurs can come out. I mean, the Cavs can come out hot tonight and have the Knicks chasing. Now, what I'll see early is this. Is if the Knicks come out on fire right away and get a significant lead, 10, 15-point lead, the Cavs are just going to wilt. I think the Cavs are just going to wilt, and they're going to just live to see another day, kind of rest up a little bit. I don't think they got that energy enough to try to come back by 15 just because of their legs.
We were down to Detroit, and they said the same thing, and we came back and won the series. So we were down multiple games in that Detroit series. And they're a tougher defensive team to me. But
this is game 1. I think if the Knicks come out and try to put the dagger in them the first quarter, get up by 15, 20 points, I think this game's going to be over quick. And I think that the coach is going to say, all right, my starter's going to go to the bench, let them rest up for game 2. Because really all you want to do is split, right? If you're going to have your team have all their energy down by 20 in the second half, come out and play real hard. No, I think this game is going to be – Knicks can put this game away in the first quarter, between the first and second quarter already. And if they do that, I think Cleveland will concede the game because they want to get their guys some rest for the rest of the series.
Well, we got the first game is always the fill-out game, like I've been saying. So, but I also don't have LeBron James to continue to say that right now until he comes to Cleveland next year. But – but I feel like we can still keep that momentum from that Detroit win because they showed a different side of like how they can play. As long as they get the bigs involved, I feel like if they got to play lockdown defense like they played in that last game of the Detroit season series. If they play hard-nosed defense like they did in the end of that series, we'll be fine. They just got to stay consistent in that defensive effort too, to go along with getting the bigs involved, hitting the threes and stuff like that. Everything has to fall in line to have this first game work. So I feel like we have a shot because we are riding momentum right now going into this next series, and then New York has been sitting. They're gonna come out and they're gonna try to bust us in the mouth too. Of course, they're home. They got the MSG crowd, which is hard to play in. It's hard to play at MSG, but we Cavaliers teams in the past play well there, so we've won there before. So I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, we'll see. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific tonight, and I think that's going to be really good. I'll be sitting in the front of the TV set ready for this series to start. And just like I was last night, when we get to this point of the NBA, you can't take no time off from watching the games because they're so good. You got the best of the best, and we play this long season, and then we get to this point. It's win or go home, Final Four. So I love it all the way through. So we're going to transition a little bit and talk a little bit about, some NFL. I don't know if anybody was watching, paying attention, but Aaron Rodgers is back. Does it change the things in the AFC North because Aaron Rodgers is coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers? And one of the things that I noticed that Aaron Rodgers waited till the last day to sign his contract, $25 million, up to $25 million this year with incentives and things of that nature. But he was in the first one in the building yesterday, OTAs, veterans and rookies report. And he looked like, 42 years old going back into the dungeon, right? Going back into the dungeon, in the AFC North with a tough schedule. I'm not quite sure, but McCarthy there, if they can rekindle that magic that they had in Green Bay, but he's got his old ball coach back. And I think that there's been conversations with Aaron Rodgers and McCarthy before he even came back. And Aaron, let's put this last run together, blah, 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 blah. And Aaron, whatever he said to Aaron Rodgers had convinced him to get off the couch, come out of the darkness, wherever he was. But he's back on the team again. And now you've got Aaron Rodgers to contend with again in the North. Do you think this is going to make a big difference? I mean, I'm looking at the quarterback situation in Cleveland. We know how that looks. And then we're looking at just all the other quarterbacks with Joe Burrow. And you think it's going to have a different impact that he had last season?
I think with the new coaching scheme, with the coaching scheme, I'm sure he's familiar with. That's the Super Bowl caliber coach. He's done it with them before. He won a championship with them before in Green Bay, like you said. I feel like that's going to be key. That's the reason why he came back, obviously. And I feel like he can probably get back to his glory days to a certain extent, but maybe the arm strength isn't there like it used to be. But he still whips that ball around. So, I mean, I don't know.
He wasn't bad last year, man. He wasn't bad.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. Like, as long as they get some, because they drafted, then they drafted a receiver or something like that. But they have the pieces in place. They still have their defensive scheme. I'm sure how they
defense though, a little bit older, a year older.
Yeah, but I feel like as long as the defense shows up like they usually do, they have a shot because he'll take care of the ball. He won't turn the ball over as much, as a lot other quarterbacks and stuff like that in the division. But I feel like they got a shot. I mean, that's our divisional rival. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan giving kudos to a Pittsburgh Steelers. So I don't know if I really want to have this conversation anymore. But
well, you don't. But
being biased,
it's news.
Being neutral, I have to say Aaron Rodgers has an opportunity because you got a Hall of Fame, potential Hall of Fame coach and a Hall of Fame player coming back together to rekindle that fire that they had in Green Bay. So I feel like they have a chance. So,
well, I think we got to talk about too. I mean, while we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, what is it with the Pittsburgh Steelers that they have not been able to find a quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger? Now, I'm not saying that they have to go out there and Hall of Fame guy Ben Roethlisberger and find the quarterback. But this is like the 5th year now that that they have not found an answer, whether it's in free agency, getting a younger quarterback or finding someone in the draft to replace Ben. I mean, you've had, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Rudolph, and looking at who they have on their team right now for quarterbacks. None of those quarterbacks can come out and compete for the starting job. And you got to, for the 2nd year in a row, get a 40-year-old quarterback to come in and run the team. it is this amazing to me how just the overall ownership and management of the Pittsburgh Steelers have handled the quarterback position for like the last 5 years. Has been amazing to me that they haven't went out to find their guy. And they knew Russell Wilson wasn't their guy. He's at the tail end of his career. But they Pittsburgh Steelers is better than this, by the way. They're a better franchise than this, than not being prepared to handle the quarterback position long term.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, but this my viewpoint is before McCarthy got here, right? So let's look at it as I'm comparing it to the Browns, right? Because we've been through quarterbacks. So I'm actually a pro at talking about this topic.
30 years.
So when we talk about this, right, I feel like they have, just like I said with the Browns, the Pittsburgh is kind of running into that grass is always green on the other side kind of mentality with the quarterback play, because they had when they had Russell Wilson, they had what's the other quarterback, Fields. They had Fields.
Oh, Fields,
they had some wins. But then they saw that shiny toy of Aaron Rodgers, and they was like, oh, he's available, so it's like it's the grass is always greener mentality. The next quarterback up and stuff like that. Then they go and draft a quarterback in the draft from the Ohio State Buckeyes that actually won a national championship. And I mean, from looking at it from Ohio State standpoint and what he did when he came in for the Ohio State to win a national championship, and then he just gets treated the way he gets treated in Pittsburgh is kind of weird to me. I don't know if it didn't translate over, he didn't learn the playbook, or what. I don't know what it is, but and then you go out and get another quarterback that didn't really do good at Penn State, and you try to like change his whole quarterback makeup or whatever he learned in as a quarterback.
Yeah, you try to make him unlearn so he can relearn. You draft the guy to unlearn him and then relearn him.
But that could be the new coach thing too. But he's trying to find this guy to lead after Aaron Rodgers leaves. He's trying to find that guy that's going to be that for the future. But he may have his guy right in front of him that they didn't have to draft another guy. So I think they're in a weird situation like we were last year with 6 quarterbacks. Now they have Rodgers coming back, and they have 2 rookies and a guy in Rudolph that never really done anything. So I don't know how that's going to move forward, but I hope they keep messing it up, because I don't want them to win anything.
Right, y'all messing it up too. Yeah, you got the Cleveland Browns messing stuff up too. Y'all just messing stuff up all the time. And which talking about the Cleveland Browns, this story came across a little bit late last week, and it says Deion wants to meet up with the Browns coach Todd Monken. I'm not quite sure if this is really a good look. Okay, so now you have a new coach coming in, and now all of a sudden, you have Deion saying, "I want to talk to you about my son." And I'm not quite sure, man, what this whole thing is, but and let me see if I can pull the quote up here. I mean, because it is the quote. Deion Sanders said, "Because I want to meet him, because I think it is vital that as a coach, not a dad, I can tell a few things about Shador, how to get him going. That wasn't asked of me a year ago. I don't understand it." And so, I just don't think that it's a good look for Deion to be talking to Todd Monken and then do it, especially out in the public. He's putting it out there in the ether in the public. Why can't y'all have a closed door meeting and not have it in the public, right? The last thing I want, if I'm Shador, is my daddy going to my NFL head coach and telling him what gets me going, right? I want to create my own lane and my own thing with my new coach. I don't want my daddy talking to the head coach to try to tell him how to get me going. That is for me to build a relationship with my new head coach. Okay, I got a new slate, and I'm in a quarterback battle. I mean, you sitting out there in practice, and one of the players say, "Yo, man, is your dad?" The dad gives some, just making fun of him all together. Watson might say, "Yo, man, I heard your daddy was in town talking to the coach. What's up with that?" It's just not really something that grown NFL men, I think, should have their father talking to the head coach when their son is in the middle of a quarterback battle in his second season.
I definitely agree with you when you put it that way. It makes a lot of sense the way you put it. But every other daddy out there ain't Dion, and I get it. Like as a quarterback, I wouldn't want my dad like reaching out to my coach, but at the same time, if it's going to help me help the team, and if the coach is okay with it, if Monken's okay, we're like, okay, yeah, let me bring this dude in because Stefanski didn't ask me any questions. Like he coached him previously. Like usually when you're drafting a quarterback, you talk to the ex-coach that they came from most of the time, right? So why in this situation was this not happen? Why did this happen? That's what Dion is saying. It's not like he's trying to force himself on the situation. He's trying to make sure because he wants his son to succeed and he wants the team that he's on to succeed. So he's not. I don't think he's trying to push his way in. I just feel like he just want to. If Tom Monken approves it, if he wants to talk to him, they're gonna talk. But if Tom Monken says no, I don't want to talk to you, then that's what it is. I mean, it's just. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, when you have a Hall of Fame player in Dion played quarterback in high school. Nobody really talks about that. So he knows the quarterback position. It's just that he didn't get recruited to play quarterback. He did everything else. But I just feel like, it does have a bad look to it when the way you eloquently, put it out there. It makes sense. But
I set you up real good on that.
But you set me up really good. But when it comes to like when you want the team to do well and you want your son to do well, he actually wants the team to do well because he knows his son is a part of that picture. And if he's not, then he won't say anything. He knows that his son is a part of that picture of making his team better. So that's why he wants to help out if they accept it. If they don't have to accept it, he's just saying because Stefanski didn't ask me because he didn't want Shador. So exactly. So that's the reason why he didn't get asked. So he was throwing shots.
I mean, a little bit more context about it is that a lot of teams that didn't draft, the coaches didn't want to draft Shador last year where he was supposed to be drafted like in the top, the first or second round and fell back to the fifth round. A lot of teams thought that they drafted him, that Dion might be up for that coaching position. And I think that, and because the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones spoke to Dion about his son and about the coaching position potentially, and a lot of teams felt that when they saw that happen, hey, we draft his son, and his son only played for one guy, and that's his dad. So they thought it was a package deal, and a lot of coaches was kind of scared of that. Like, yo, if we draft his son, is my job going to be in jeopardy? So I think that we're kind of past that now. And I think Monken is like, nah, we ain't got to worry about that no more. But then, I still don't like the look. I mean, you don't have to get into an interview if you're Deion Sanders and start talking about, oh, I'm supposed to talk to Monken, but I had a commercial to do. So that delayed my talk with Monken, but I think I can tell him how to push my son's buttons. I don't think you really want that as a player. I want to pave my own way. And I know we've had LeBron James and Bronny James and Daddy getting into that, having them drafted and doing all that stuff like that. But I think that this is a whole different thing, man. This is a little bit different.
But if that was the case with the Dallas Cowboys, talking to Dion, because Dion played for the Dallas Cowboys and, he's a champion with them and stuff like that. So if that's the case, then that's not Shador's fault. That's not Dion's fault. Like for what's been put out in the media as the reason why he slid down to the fifth round. Like he was before the draft, he was ranked top 5 at quarterback. He was supposed to go top 5. And then with all this speculation of what you just said, like the teams were scared of that, then that kind of brings more light to the issue that the NFL was against him. Like everybody's been saying. So it's like, and then all the haters come out because they don't like Dion because of how he was when he played, and they try to compare Shador and say he's cocky and whatever, but Deion Sanders, when he talked to when he's communicating with his kids, he's making sure they're confident, they know what their worth is. They're not going around like Baker Mayfield holding their junk in a college football game. Like they have moxie. but they still get drafted in the first round. They have Moxie. He's grabbing his nuts on the ESPN. They showing him planting the flag, doing all this. He's not doing anything like that. So it's a thing of they don't like the Sanders family. That's what it is, because the following that they have and everything they get from being their dad's kids or whatever. But they still show that they can play the game. They may not be the top talent right now, but they still NFL players.
Well, my point is that Shador has to make his own way in this league. Without Daddy coming in, I don't want to say Daddy in a bad way, but he's still his pops coming in and talking to the head coach and saying, "Oh, I had a meeting with Monken, and I want to tell him what skill set my kid has and all this stuff like that." Well, you know what? You don't need to have that. And I think he's Deion's a little bit bitter too about Jacksonville not talking about Travis Hunter, calling him up about Travis Hunter to see what kind of guy he is, and all that, because most coaches or most teams do talk to the head coach of the team that is going to be that player played for before they drafted them. And Jacksonville didn't do that even with Hunter, with Deion Sanders. And so I think year 2, I don't think that they should be having a meeting with Monken and doing all this stuff like that, because it's kind of making it look like, like you're trying to get yourself involved and stuff like that in your son's career and things of that nature. What's done is done. Now he already has Monken's ear. Sanders has Monken's ear for what he did last year, some of the stuff that he put on tape last season with the Cleveland Browns. I don't think he needs Deion at all to go talk to his new coach for anything, because he has to pave his own way, and he has been paving his own way, and he's in a hell of a quarterback battle right now. He don't need this outside noise now coming into the Cleveland Browns organization. I don't think it helps him at all.
Yeah, I understand with finding your own way and stuff like that. That's obviously because most players do have to find their own way. They don't have a Hall of Fame type player as a dad. I get it, but at the same time, when you look at it, answer me this question: how do you feel about the Manning brothers? They had their daddy was involved in a lot of their stuff. He didn't go to San Diego because of his daddy. Figured out a way for him not to go to San Diego, and he went to New York. So he was involved in all that, but it's okay for them to do it. But then when the Sanders do it, it's not good, right?
Well, it's a different thing. I mean, it's
not different.
They put this out before the draft. Archie Manning put this out before the draft. We are not going to San Diego.
Yeah, but still, their daddy was still involved in the process.
Absolutely.
And it was still like Deion said some things before the draft too, and that kind of turned. But it's different for certain people than Shador.
I don't know what went on 25 years ago and all that stuff in 2004 or whatever. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but it's a totally different world now. And Manning,
but it doesn't change the optics, though. It doesn't change the optics.
Allowed him to do that. Most people wasn't even around. And 22 years ago, some of these
it doesn't matter. It happened before. It happened before.
It did.
And it happened with somebody that doesn't look like us. So it's like that's what it comes down to, because certain people are okay with getting this certain treatment, but when another culture comes in and tries to do the same thing, like they got on LeBron about it. LeBron is like the face of the face of the NBA, though.
Well, they should have got on LeBron about it, because we know Jamie. We know Bronny James is not an NBA player. Of a caliber of an NBA player that should be out there. He shouldn't even be playing in some of these games. He's doing mop-up time in some of these games just to get some experience. But we'll see if LeBron James leave the Cavaliers. We'll see how long Bronny lasts on that team.
He's probably gonna come to the Cavaliers too.
But yeah. We'll see how long Bronny James lasts on the Lakers if LeBron James is not there next season. For him not to be protected by his father. I get it. I understand how it looks. But in this situation, because it's Shador's second year, I don't think it's a good look because Shador's already paved his own way with the Browns. He had some good games. He had some wins last season. He's kind of already paved his own way without his father intervening. So why should he intervene now, his second year in the league with the Browns with a new coach?
I really don't think he's. I mean, he's. I guess you can say he's intervening, but I don't feel like he's not.
You got a meeting with the coach. You're intervening. That is what we call direct intervention right there, and that's why I don't think that it should happen because Shador has paved his own way.
He's going to be there in either way. Like, he's still going to show up and be in the press box with the owners. He's still going to be there, a part of the game time stuff when they're there at home. He's still going to be whatever. He didn't necessarily have to put this out there. He could have just
that's what
showed
I'm saying.
up. And I get what you're saying, but it's going to happen either way. Either way, if he puts it out there or not. Like, somebody's going to say something about it if it gets wind to, oh, he was talking to the coach in a private meeting. They're going to find, like, the beat writers of the Cleveland Browns going to get it out there. So either way he does it, he's going to be damned if he do, damned if he doesn't. So it's like, either way, as a Deion Sanders, kind of personality, he's well known. Like, they're going to find out either way. So it's like, I feel like he was just putting it out there I think he was trying to throw shade at Stefanski a little bit because he didn't want Shador. I think that's what ultimately it was, but I'm speculating here, so I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what it seems like because he's throwing a little shade at Stefanski because Stefanski didn't want him. He wanted Dylan Gabriel, and
I know, but now second year, come on, no need to have a conversation with the head coach now. Shador Sanders is possibly the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, and he's got a guy that used to be top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, that he has to worry about. He don't need this coming over, looking over his shoulder. Let him go out there and ball out and have a clear mind. I think that it's all crazy to me, but we'll see. We got to move on. Okay, I haven't talked about the Washington Commanders schedule, and
we don't need to.
I'm mad about it. I mean, I'm mad about it. Well, we need to, right? Because at the end of the day, we have some Commanders and Redskins fans out there, and we're not too happy about our schedule. I mean, basically, the Cleveland Browns, unlike the Cleveland Browns, we don't have the easiest schedule in the NFL like the Cleveland Browns do. We probably got one of the hardest schedules in the NFL, and we were just as bad as the Cleveland Browns were last season.
Well, your division is tough too, just like ours.
So yeah, we got a crazy division. So, Washington is the only team in the NFL to open up the 2026 season with 2 consecutive divisional road games, traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. They also will host the Colts at, in London for week 4. Okay. And I talked about week 1 against the Eagles and week 2 against the Cowboys on the road. And I talked about, let's talk about week 3. So do you know who we opened up our season with in week 3? The defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we go on the road to Philadelphia and Dallas. And then our first home game is against the Seattle Seahawks, by the way, who pummeled us by over 20 plus points last season on prime time, okay, at home. And you give us that schedule. And then we go on week 4 on the road to London, all right, on week 4. And then we come back against the New York Giants, okay? And then before our bye week, the 6th week of the season, we travel all the way over to the West Coast, to the Bay Area, to play the San Francisco 49ers before a bye week. Now, you can't tell me that those 6 games are absolutely crazy, all right?
That's an easy schedule.
Yeah, it's not an easy schedule, but I think the biggest thing is that, either NFL is showing us a little respect. They're saying, hey, you know what? The only reason why y'all are bad last year is because Jaden Daniels was hurt most of the season. And so I don't think you guys are going to be that bad this year. But I think that part of it is all of it can be true. We got 4 games that we got 4 primetime games this year, which is, teams that have the schedule, the teams that have the losing record that we had last year don't get this type of schedule the following season.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels he's a draw. Like they want to see him play, and you got the top defensive player in the draft from Ohio State, you solidify your defense,
you
and
might
like
be
so
onto
you
something
got
there. Yeah.
so they want to see them on prime time. So that's what
Yeah,
it looks like.
you might, and let's just say, we know that we know that JD5 is prime time, and if he stays
Yeah.
healthy, I told all the fans, I said, hey guys, if we can come out 3-3, at at our bye week, then I think we're cooking with gas. But if we come out 1-5 or 2-4, whatever, we're gonna be in trouble right out of the gate. And I don't think there's any really recovery on it because we really have to make this work. I mean, I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns' easiest schedule right now, and you guys open the road against the Jaguars on September 13th. You got the Buccaneers September 20th, and on Thursday night game versus Pittsburgh, and and Cincinnati in Week 18. I mean, you guys have a stretch at home of 4 home games against the Raiders, the Bengals, the Falcons, and a bye week in between Week 10 and 12. So looking at that, I'm like, you know what? And that's why I told you last week that the Cleveland Browns better set it off this year because they won't have they got a favorable schedule and they got new coaches in their division and they should be looking at being on top of that division this season. Even though Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, if they stay healthy, they'll have something to say about it.
Yeah, if we start off, I feel like we start off like 3-1 or 4-0, we got a chance to win 10 plus games. But it all depends on injuries. It all depends on these outlier teams that they say that the schedule is easy, but you don't know these teams may have gotten better. They may be on heater. You just never know in football. So it's like to say somebody has an easy schedule is like it's funny to say, but when you actually see them play and like get the games going, it's kind of like you will see immediately if we gonna have an easy schedule because in our division is never easy. No matter what anybody says, we have one of the hardest divisions. And Pittsburgh and Baltimore has been at the top for so long, and that's why we can't move up because those two teams that have been in our way, too many years.
Well, then you have the Bengals have a run with Joe Burrow and all.
It's just
that
their defense. Their defense is trashy. That's the only thing. If Joe Burrow if he had a defense, just imagine if he had the Ravens or Pittsburgh's historical defense. Like if he had a defense like that, I think they would go to the Super Bowl every year.
It would be crazy if he had a defense. If we had a defense, it'd be crazy. He wouldn't have to score 35 points a game.
And offensive line too.
Yeah. All that, all the above is kind of crazy. Yeah. So yeah, man. Anything going on for you this weekend? I know Memorial Day is coming up before our next podcast. You doing anything special?
No, I'm not doing anything special. Just I guess we got some. We ended our kids baseball season my 6-year-old's baseball season just ended this past weekend. We came in 3rd place. It's only 6-year-olds. It's not like they're doing any big time stuff, but they have a hard time focusing on the game. They out in the outfield just doing this, playing with the bugs in the air, playing in dirt, and different things like that. So they it was a great experience, coaching the baseball for the first time because I played baseball when I was younger. And I enjoyed it, but at the age group is kind of tough because they don't focus, and then you got them playing back-to-back games, and I'm like they don't have the bandwidth to like play back-to-back games at 6 years old. So let me take that back, 4 through 6. So we have 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and 6-year-olds.
Oh yeah, 4 years.
So
old,
it was tough.
But 4 years old, they're not thinking about anything.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it. It was fun, a fun time. But I think I want to coach a little older kids that they know what they're doing, and you just train them and mold them in different ways like that. I like to see kids get better and stuff like that. So I think I might get into the baseball realm to go along with like basketball or football. My son my 10-year-old that's a swimmer, that's a national swimmer, 10-year-old. He's saying he wants to play baseball and basketball now. So I'm like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Because they getting tall.
They like the sports the young kids kind of start to see as they start to get older, the sports that everybody like to get the girls, and the popular ones, basketball, football, and all those things. Those are going to be some interesting conversations you're going to have with your boys, because they're going to be tall.
Yeah, I told my wife by the time my son goes to middle school next year, but he can't play basketball or any other sport until he gets to 7th grade. He's going to 6th. But I told him, like, once they see him, he gets taller, the coach gonna be like, dude, what are you doing in that pool over there? Get over here on this court. Like, what are you doing? Because he's watching basketball and he's like starting to like it, watching the playoffs and stuff like that with me and stuff like that. So he's starting to like it. So I feel like I still kind of want him to pursue his swimming career too, because he had aspirations to want to break Michael Phelps's records. That's what his mindset is. But then, as he's getting older, he's kind of like, basketball and other sports, the popular sports. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not a dad that forces things. So I just wait till he comes to me and wants me to train him, and then I'll start training him.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a good opportunity to do whatever, because he's going to probably have the physical attributes, and that's probably what holds a lot of people back in a lot of these sports, because they don't. I mean, you can't be like 5'7", 180 pounds, playing in the NFL or trying to get on a basketball team or whatever. But he's probably going to have all the physical tools just from you, and the insight too.
My wife is a state champion in basketball too. So she played basketball, softball, and volleyball. So when I was looking to breed, I was looking for the right one, and she's the right. So I was looking for height and and she's smart, she's sharp and everything too. So our kid's gonna have the total package. So
yeah, man, that's awesome. That's really cool. That is really good. I'll give you for that one. Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up. We'll be back, next week. We'll be talking a little bit about all these Western Conference Finals, if they're not over yet. These Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll see what the Cleveland Cavaliers do tonight against the New York Knicks. It's going to be lit at MSG. I can't wait to see it. All right, guys. My name is Lonnie Washington and Tony Robinson. This has been the Chasing the Highlights podcast. We'll see you next week.
Come alive, 2X players in the studio, ready to thrive. Friends and fans, uniting with the truth, sharing the passion, yeah, that's our proof. Chasing the highlights, where dreams come alive. 2X players in the studio, ready to thrive. Friends and fans, uniting with the truth, sharing the passion, yeah, that's our proof. We treasure the legends, those